Hey guys, this is video number 1 of my classroom management series, and today we will be talking about the importance of building classroom community. So as we know as teachers, classroom management is one of the most important things to have in a classroom in order for your students to learn. One way to get your classroom under control from the very first day, whether it's at the beginning of the school year or even mid-year like I am doing this year, is starting by building that classroom community. Here are some of the ways that you can build the community in your classroom. So first and foremost, you want to really get to know your kids and help them to get to know each other. That is the first thing when you're building classroom community, is to get to know each other. One way that you can do this is during your morning meeting. Now, morning meetings are absolutely essential in my classroom. We have a morning meeting every single day, and there is always some kind of topic that we're going to cover that day, or sometimes it's even just to chit chat. But I always kind of have an overview of what I want to talk about in our morning meeting. Not only do I use my morning meeting to get ready for the day, like talk about the date and things that we're going to be covering that day, I also use it as a team building activity. So for example, we usually have some sort of talking object. I like to use an inflatable globe that we have in our classroom, and that globe is passed around from student to student or kind of rolled across the circle so they can share something with their classmates. Morning meetings are a great time for your students to use as share time. So something that they did over the weekend, maybe over a holiday break, or maybe they just want to share something that they enjoy so that the other kids can learn something new about them. One thing that I did with my students last week is we all sat in our morning meeting circle and we went around and the children had to say something positive about the person sitting next to them. So what I like to do is have the student turn and look at the person sitting next to them, give them eye contact. We're teaching them how to be respectful to one another as well. So they give them their eye contact and they shake their hand and say, "Good morning, so-and-so," and their friend will turn and respond to them, "Good morning, so-and-so," and they shake their hands. So that way they are having that social interaction, they're learning good manners and how to greet people, and that is super, super important, especially as they get up to the older grades and eventually into adulthood. After they say good morning and shake their friend's hand, then they go ahead and tell them one thing that they like about them, give them a positive compliment. So for example, I had students telling each other that, "Wow, I like the way that you always focus and work hard in the classroom." Awesome! So I really recommend morning meetings. It really gives your students the opportunity to not only learn about each other, but also just to receive those compliments and help them feel good about themselves. When children have their peers complimenting them, sometimes it can even mean a little bit more than if an adult compliments them. Especially if it's someone that they kind of look up to in the classroom, it can be really, really powerful. Another way that we learned more about each other in our classroom is we all created All About Me posters. So all of the students had an All About Me poster that they went home and they decorated however they wanted to. They gave us some facts about themselves or their families or their pets or things they enjoyed, and then they brought it back to the classroom and they were able to share with their classmates some things so that we could learn a little bit more about them. And what I noticed is a lot of the kids really enjoyed this because they found things that they had in common with some other students that they probably didn't know beforehand. Like, "Wow, I like basketball too," or, "Oh, I have 2 dogs at home too." So they started to see those things in common with one another, which is very, very important for building that classroom community, because they may not have known that other students in their class shared the same things as them. And so that actually helps them to make new friends and kind of expand their friend and social circle. Another great way to help your kids get to know each other and for you to get to know them as the teacher is to find out what their culture is. Now, if you didn't watch my teacher tag video, you need to go ahead and watch that. I'll put the link in the description below. But in that video, I talked a little bit about the school that I'm at and how most of my students and most of the students at the school in general are from the Native American culture. It has been such an amazing journey for me as the teacher because I have learned so much about their culture and what they believe is important, and we actually take some of those things and use them in the classroom. For example, one of the things that we have done in the past is we actually had one of the Native American drum groups come and play for our 3rd grade classes, and they got to hear the native singing and some of the songs that they already knew from home. We actually brought that into the school, which was absolutely fantastic. During that presentation, there was also an elder who shared some of their stories with us, and it really just helped bring those students' culture into our classroom. Now that I'm kind of starting to learn more about that culture, I really plan on bringing it into my classroom even more so. Okay, so another way that you can help build your classroom community is to make your students feel special. I know that this kind of goes without saying, but really kind of take that extra step to make your students feel special every single day. You know, when the kids get there in the morning, be sure to give them high fives and hugs and say, hey, I missed you yesterday. Kind of notice if anything is different about them. Maybe they got a haircut and they look a little bit more handsome today. So make sure to let them know that, hey, I noticed you, I missed you, I'm so glad you're here, and let's make it a great day. I know my students really respond to that, and I just want school to be that place where they want to come and it's their safe place, their home away from home. So I always start the day on a positive note by making my students feel extra special. Another way to make your students feel special is to give them praise. Sometimes I do this in front of the entire class just so everyone else kind of can follow the leader, I guess, and kind of do what that student is doing if it's something that I want to see or that I'm liking that I'm seeing. Other times it will be in private. So some of my students respond better if I give them praise privately, where I kind of go over and put my hand on their shoulder and say, hey, wow, wonderful writing. I like how you used your main idea and your details. You really did a nice job on your paragraph, etc. So a lot of my students respond that way because they don't think that it's necessarily cool to be praised in front of the rest of the classmates. Just take that into consideration when you're thinking about your students and how you are praising them in the classroom. And of course, students always feel special when they have some sort of classroom job. When students have classroom jobs, it makes them feel so important. Like our classroom cannot run smoothly without you. We need you here at school so that you can do your job, whether it is trash can expert, pencil sharpener, dry erase board eraser, any of those jobs. Those students will feel so important and like you actually need them there at school, or else your classroom will not run smoothly. So make sure you give your students classroom jobs if you don't have them doing something already. It really makes a world of difference. One of the best things for building your classroom community is having your students work with other students, whether it's in partners or in groups. Now, when I started teaching kindergarten, all of my kindergartners had tables of 4 students each. So they had to work as a group. Every table had a community supply caddy where they had to learn how to share and take turns. They were also all facing one another, which I know can cause a lot of distraction sometimes, but it's a good skill for them to learn how to be able to talk kindly to one another and to stay focused on their work even when other people are around them. But when we were doing like certain projects and my kids were all sitting at the same table, that was their table group, they were able to work together very nicely. And I would switch groups up, every few months or so just to make sure that they were sitting with someone different and new, someone that they hadn't worked with before. But that is something that the kids absolutely loved. They loved sitting next to either friends that they already had and even kids that they typically didn't sit by or hang out with. They liked making new friends. Now this year in 3rd grade, when I first jumped into this classroom in the middle of November, the tables were in table groups. However, with this particular class, table groups was not working at the beginning. So what I did is I went ahead and put them in rows, but that doesn't mean that they still don't get the opportunity to work in either partners or groups. For example, we did a research project on animals and the students were able to choose an animal of their choice. We did this for an informational writing piece and some of the students ended up choosing the same animals like lions. A lot of the kids chose sharks because they love sharks. It's like a cool animal in 3rd grade. If they chose the same animal, they were allowed to go ahead and work together and share some of those books so that they could kind of bounce ideas off of each other and give some facts so that they could fill out their graphic organizer and complete their informational writing. I do incorporate partners and group work throughout the school day, even though my kids don't necessarily sit in table groups. That may change towards the end of the year, but right now I'm going to leave it how it is just to make sure that our classroom continues flowing the way it has been over the past few weeks. And my last tip for helping you build your classroom community is to teach your students how to solve conflicts appropriately. Teach them how to resolve those conflicts, whether it's at school or outside of school. Those are skills that students need to learn and have for life. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first video on my classroom management series. I really hope that these tips help you to build your classroom community, whether it's kind of revamping it for the end of this school year or even starting your school year off on the right foot beginning next school year. So if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, please click that subscribe button so that you don't miss any future videos, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!